And I am live. Welcome to our Success Mastermind for Thursday, the 9th of December, 2021. John Lavenia here with you. And good to see those tuning in live or via YouTube. It's always a pleasure to get the message, this conversation of success out into the world, which I think desperately needs it right now. Hey, Giovanna, good to see you. It's like 4 days in a row. My goodness. The world is going to be all right. Giovanna's here. The world is going to be okay. I wonder sometimes. Hey, Lindsay, good to see you. I had an idea that I wanted to share with you. Imagine that, right? That's nothing new. And as soon as this idea is coming up for me, the garbage truck, I don't know if you guys can hear, but we have very enthusiastic garbage truck people that go right past my office window. They're very, very into it. But yeah, I had an idea that I wanted to share with you today that came from my meditation. As I was sitting there being quiet, which is something I practice. I'm still practicing. After some decades, I'm still practicing. Think about nothing. Think about nothing. Go ahead. Do that. Just go right ahead and think about nothing. Start. Good luck. Right? So yeah, that's a bit of practice. But the thing that came up for me out of the nothingness, the brief gaps between thoughts, there was a thought that came up. And the thought was, you know what? If I am, like Joseph Murphy talks about in the book that we're studying, The Power of Your Subconscious Mind, if I am putting myself in a state of not just hoping for something or wanting something, but actually, in fact, not even just expecting something, but feeling the feelings as if it's already done physically in the physical world. Like Dorothea Brande said in her classic book, Wake Up and Live, act as though it were impossible to fail. Well, what if it's impossible to fail? Let's just park on that thought here for a minute. It is now impossible to fail. I now decree, hi, Virginia, I now decree that it is impossible to fail. And I accept and go into a state of agreement with that thought. I am in accord with the idea. In fact, the reality that it is impossible to fail. And so therefore, anything that I'm postulating right now, like this shall be made manifest in the physical world, it is as good as done. And because of that posture, because of that elevated state of knowingness, right? So we go from like, apathy to, I guess, a want, and then hope, and then belief, and then knowing, and then total enlightenment and levitation or something. But because I've gone up that scale or that gradient of knowingness, I feel different. I feel different. It's very different to think about something off in the future that you would like to manifest or whatever. That's where it starts. Okay, that's fine. So you've got an intention. That's good. Napoleon Hill said, for the person with no ambition, there's no cure for that, right? So you've got to, be intentional and have, purpose and stuff. So yes, we're about advancement, okay, and I'm about manifesting these things. But the feeling, the emotional state in the silence is different when the posture or when the considerations about it are that, this is basically, this is done. This is done. And it's being delivered right on schedule. I don't need to look for evidence because it's impossible to fail. That feels different than hope or want or even belief. That feels different. Hi, Sonia. That feels different than, let me force myself to buy this lie that I'm telling myself. It feels totally different. I mean, when you know something, you know it, right? So if I asked you right now, what color is the sky? You'd probably say blue, assuming that you're in a place where the sun shines, not in, Dublin or something where they have 2 days of sun per year, or Seattle, right? But I'm in Arizona, so I'm quite aware of the color of the sky. You'd probably agree. It's blue, right? I'm right. Okay, great. So unanimous. We're unanimous on that. So then the question is, do you hope that it's blue? Do you believe that it's blue? Like, you really got to work on your belief systems now, right? You got to force that blueness in. Oh, it's blue, damn it. I don't really believe that, but oh, it's blue. No, 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 no. You know it's blue. I can't talk you out of that deal. Okay. Sold, done, not open for debate, case closed, blue. Next question. That's a knowing. If we can have that, and we can, okay, but this is where the whole idea of practice comes in. Like I was talking about, sitting there and being quiet and thinking about nothing, which takes a bit of doing. But there's a practice that you can get into where you shift your considerations from, and by considerations, I also mean the emotional state rendered by those thoughts. So, right, we got thoughts, feelings, actions, results in a cycle, upward or downward. Weldon Long talked about this in his book, The Power of Consistency, right? And he didn't originate this new truth or something. That's just, there you go. I mean, observe how your life works, right? You think a thought, you have some sort of emotional buy-in or rejection or whatever, which prompts what? Action, right? So there's a decision made emotionally based on your innermost expectations and beliefs about who you are. Okay. So you take this or that action or not, and you get this or that result. And it always works. So back to the idea of act as though it were impossible to fail. Right. You're right. It is. It's impossible to fail. If thought, feeling, action, result always occurs, whether the result is pleasing or not, it's not failure. It's impossible to fail. It's like a result occurred. Maybe something good, maybe something bad. I don't know, but it was very successfully a complete cycle of thought, emotion, action, results. Too simple, right? Too simple. However, when I run that sales pitch on myself, which is a very good one, that look, John, it's impossible to fail. I need to build a case. You see, because I haven't, after decades of, studying personal development and meditation and everything else, I haven't gotten to the point where I can just say, you know what, everything I've believed up to this point, we can go ahead and hit the clear button, cancel it out, none of that means anything. And I guess that's a good thing too, right? Because I've got a memory. Well, that's nice, right? That helps us survive. That's cool. But I don't yet. And I don't know that in the human condition, anyone, gets to this point where each moment of present time is a completely new opportunity without precedent. So I need that sales pitch. I need to sell myself the idea that it is impossible to fail. So I need to build a case, you see. Here's the case. And I get to be the judge and the jury and the prosecutor and the defendant. I'm all of it. Okay, I'm all of it. So in the courtroom of my mind, I'm building the case that it's impossible to fail. And look, here's evidence. Here's evidence. Exhibit A is that you have successfully gotten a result with every cycle of thought, feeling, action, and then what has to happen? A result, something. Therefore, it's impossible to fail. You can't fail. That's a misnomer. Misnomer. Great. That evidence has been submitted. Any arguments, right? So you see, we're building a case. I am, and hopefully you are too. You're building a case for your own guaranteed success, because failure is now impossible. So then the only variables then, if we're actually in control, if we're actually steering the ship, so to speak, if we're at the wheel, then the attention, I think, can and should go on what originates and ultimately ends up in a result, right? Well, where's the point of origin for that? Well, back to the beginning of the cycle, thought. And what's the one thing that we can all probably agree that you've been given dominion over, right? Because it's written in scripture and everything else that you've been given dominion, right? And okay, nice. Okay, well, am I exercising that dominion? Well, what's one thing I could definitely exercise dominion over right now? My thought. In fact, it's always been there. Now, victim mentality doesn't like to hear that because, here comes the R word. that means you're responsible, right? If you've got control and dominion and freedom and liberty to do or not do this or that, well, then that means you're also responsible for it. The two are inseparable. So think about autopilots. Think about the cruise control in your car. Okay, so you're in your car, you put on the cruise control, you've given up responsibility and control. Now you can always take it back, okay? But now the machine is responsible for correctly, right? There's a computer and it measures the speed and it adjusts the throttle and the brakes and whatever. So that's on autopilot, we could say. You've given up control and you're no longer directly responsible. You're secondarily, I mean, you're the one who pressed the buttons, okay? And also, who else is responsible for the speed of that car now? The manufacturer, the engineers who designed the computer mechanisms and all this. So there's a shared responsibility for that. And in that same vein, if we look at how we allow our thoughts, which we have dominion over, how we allow shared responsibility for those thoughts, we're giving a lot of trust. Like when I get in my car, my wife's car, actually, right? She wanted this car and we got it. It's awesome. And we didn't even have to pay for it. We won it in a sales contest, but beautiful. Chrysler, Pacifica, limited, leather, all of it. Very nice. But anyway, I get in that car. I am trusting that the engineers, the creators of that product were responsible. So that when I press the button for the cruise control, I have a predictable result, right? It's not random. Okay. So there's a shared responsibility. Back to how we think. And the idea of responsibility. Okay. So if we are by auto-suggestion exercising dominion over our thoughts, right? Hey, it's impossible to fail. I just sold myself that deal. I to myself suggested to myself these things, and I can do them over and over again and get that to really stick and make that a part of my subconscious personality, right? So, I mean, you run that program over and over again, whether it's a good one or a bad one, it sticks. Okay, great. But where else have I allowed others to be the cause point or the responsible party? Since we have dominion over thought, okay, well, where did I allow myself to be irresponsible, and for others to? Now we're into heterosuggestion, right? So there's autosuggestion, what you tell yourself about yourself. Heterosuggestion, as in the book we're studying, what others tell you. Suggestions from others, thoughts, ideas that, here you go, run this program. And how many of us, before the age of reason, let's say, right, which is, I don't know, arguably 7 years old or whatever, but before the so-called age of reason, how many of us got that implanted? Here's the, inadequacy or the unworthiness. That's a heavy trip. Unworthiness, right? We can get religious and all this, but the idea that you're not even worthy to evaluate or choose your own thoughts or whatever, therefore, you're not even responsible for that. You're just along for the ride. Wow, that's a heavy trip. One that took me some years of study and counseling to relieve myself of, and to whatever degree I have, right. And so that's good. And I think anyone who's in this conversation right now, you have also, right. You've got the intent that you are going to, and you're worthy to cause something to occur to a higher degree in your life. Something preferable, right? So you get more of what you want and less of what you don't. I mean, that's just, again, if we're just looking at the laws of life and, nature, I mean, all living organisms are about expansion and growth, right? And there's a cycle to that. The tree grows and then it ages and then it falls over and makes the nice dirt for the new trees, right? So there's a cycle to that. And so the tree doesn't grow, down. I mean, it grows the roots and all, but that the law of life, right, is about expansion. It expands. The acorn got bigger. It didn't get smaller. Okay. So since we can I think, all agree that that is your nature as well, right? You're participating in this whole life thing, right? So then, well, if that's our nature, well, then certainly I must be worthy of receiving and, yes, achieving these things. I mean, what's it all about anyway? To have the experience. Well, what experience? You get to decide. So just like I sold myself the idea, or allowed others to sell me the idea that I can't, or I'm not worthy, or insert story here, blah, 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 right? Just like I bought that deal. Well, I can use my own ability to do like inductive reasoning and stuff, and originate an idea about, well, that would be nice. Let me, you know what, does anybody else in the world experience that? I mean, I'm here to have the experience. What experience? Well, that experience. Well, does anybody else do that? Yeah, lots of people do that. I remember when I was looking to transition out of my last job that I ever had, and I wanted to make 20,000 a month. Some of you have heard this story, and I was making like half of that at the job, and it sucked, and I was working 80 hours a week, and I was miserable and getting my pay cut 3 times a year. My health was failing, et cetera, et cetera. Anyway, I was on the wrong path. And so I was thinking, how can I just reach this goal? It had been my goal for years, but I was in the wrong vehicle. Oh, okay, right. Well, here's a question. Does anybody else make 20,000 a month and, quit their jobs and, drive a new Lexus? I always wanted a new Lexus. And well, yeah, they're building Lexus right now for somebody. For you, I don't know. You can answer that question. And when I got out of my own way and I accepted, in other words, I bought that deal, right? I signed up for that sales pitch. Yes, this is real. This is doable. In fact, it's impossible to fail. In fact, I was reading this book, the one that we're in our study group now. I was reading this book when I started to have some of these cognitions. And in 90 days, I got it. Like almost exactly 90 days after missing it for years. So who was in the way? It was me. Therefore, who was responsible the whole time? Who was in control the whole time? Who was the cause point the whole time? And yeah, I can blame. I can be a victim. That's nice, right? It's easy. Maybe you give me some sympathy. Giovanna, can you give me some sympathy? Oh. Oh, I'm such a victim. You don't understand. It's funny when we observe our own thoughts about this, like why we did or why we didn't, right? I mean, you could read all kinds of books about this stuff. Dr. David Hawkins, Power versus Force, The Hidden Determinants of Human Behavior. Why did you buy that thing? Or why did you make that decision? Or why did you do that? Oh, and here's my reasons, blah, 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 bullshit. Here's the real reasons, which you can't even see because you're so in it, right? So again, thought, feeling, action, result. What is it that determines our decisions? Our innermost beliefs and expectations about ourselves. So now we're into like self-image psychology, Maxwell Maltz, psycho-cybernetics. Here's the program, whether I like it or not. Here's the program. And man, I just keep doing things to fulfill that program. If we could just turn our gaze inward and say, oh, look how powerful I am. Look at that. I've screwed it up again and again and again. Look at me. And here we are in the universe of possibilities. And I keep choosing this pile of crap. Wow, I'm so powerful. I heard someone say, oh, it's amazing. I finally reached my goal. And then I stopped and said, you know what? Actually, that's not amazing. What's amazing is how long I was able to screw it up. Look how powerful I am. That is spectacular, man. Look at me. I hope you're getting something out of this. I'm actually filling in for Shannon today. We've had an interesting few days in the Lavenia household. Some tummy virus or something was going around. 2 out of the 3 of us were doing the vomiting thing. I somehow just released it and felt a little weird for a bit, and then good to go. So that's good. But so yeah, I'm filling in for. Everybody's doing better now. It's just 1 day and a half in and out, and it was done. But I'm saying this with reality. Okay, so like right now, this is real for me. I've got big changes coming in my life, like imminently, and so that's something where I again had to look and say, how much longer will I cling on to whatever programming or some identity, which I chose anyway, that limits me in this or that area. I had to be willing to step out and say, you know what, life is now. Again, what's the whole point? The point is to have the experience. What experience? Well, you tell me what experience. Well, when are you going to have that experience? Well, when would now be a good time to start? Oh, well, now then. Oh, okay, great. Let's do that. Right? You see, these are the arguments that go on in my brain. These are the sales pitches that I run on myself, or not. Right? I could sit here and crawl, put my head in the sand and same old, right? Where's the evolution in that? Where's the experience? I think a lot of us are just, we're doing the same thing over and over again. I talk to a lot of people who are new to entrepreneurship and business and all this, and they're looking to, maybe transition out of their job or whatever they've been doing. Oh, how long have you been doing that? Oh, 20 years. Oh, I see. Sometimes I'll ask, so does it feel like 20 years or does it feel like 1 year repeated over and over and over 20 times? And usually they say, yeah, the latter. Yeah, it's the same damn thing over and over. When I was a youth, was I 18 years old? I was in Nashville, Tennessee, going to diesel college, and I took a job at one of the local car dealerships. It was a Buick dealership. Is Buick still around? I think they are. Pontiac didn't survive. Buick's still around. Yeah, okay. And so I was one of the lot attendants, and it was me and this old guy, old Joe, and he was like 100. Nice old man, probably weighed 90 pounds, from the South, right? And I was, some kid from New Jersey, right? And so old Joe, and I'd go in each day. I'd say, how's it going today, Joe? And he would say, same soup, just warmed over. That stuck with me for some reason, probably for a couple of reasons. One is because he was pretty much done. Joe's no longer with us. In fact, I remember the day I was told, yeah, Joe's no longer with us. Not because he quit his job or anything. He quit the body. But that was his way of course, being social. But to go into agreement with that idea of same soup, just warmed over at 18 years old, I think would be tragic. Yes, niceties, social, small talk, whatever. Okay. But then later, okay, once I had become a diesel mechanic and then transitioned out of that and got into business, my first, I guess, actual business outside of the music business, where I was managing a band and we were not making money, but doing heavy metal. But I started a franchise, tool dealership, driving the white truck around, going from auto shop to auto shop, talking, selling to the mechanics and everything. And I would walk into, here's the Mercedes dealer. How's it going today, guys? Same old, same old. Different words, same message, same program. That old Joe was running. These guys are running it. They're in their 20s, 30s, whatever. They got families. Where are they going? Now, I wasn't there to be the philosopher. I was there to sell tools. Okay. But to hear that response, same old, tragic. Gives me the willies now that I think about it. So where are we going? Well, you get to decide that. And I want you to have the experience that you showed up here to have. Like, truly. I think the rising tide lifts all ships. When Daisy makes a spectacle of herself in whatever field she chooses to endeavor, right? Is that not evidence for me? Wow, here's someone who's making it happen. I guess this whole idea of, creation and manifestation and, personal causation is real. Look, evidence, real. And if I didn't have that evidence, I'll tell you what, I wouldn't be here with you today, right? If I didn't have people when my life was a wreck, I was a troubled youth running the streets and everything, people who could demonstrate, look, there is in fact a better way. Like, your life could work. That's a possibility. If I didn't have that evidence, would I have ever had a little kernel of belief, right? That then turned into, some motivation, some willingness to act, and then of course some action, and then a better result. Thank you. Thank you, everyone who is demonstrating success. You're a part of the solution in my life. And I have to live here on this friggin' planet with you. So please do it. Thank you. I'm done talking. Any other thoughts? Hi, Sonia. I saw you. Hi, Sonia.
Hey, John. I've got so many thoughts on this today. This is so well timed, as always. You always tune in when you know you need to hear something. And I didn't even know who was hosting today. I'm just like, I need to do this. Nice. For some reason, this week I've had this huge self-doubt. We've been announced that we're going back to the office in January. I have zero interest in going back to sitting at a desk, although I'm sitting at a desk right now, but going back to sitting at a desk for 8 hours a day, commuting to that desk, being uncomfortable at that desk, having not enough work to keep me stimulated at that desk, and making just enough to, keep the lights on. So I knew that this was coming, and I started thinking about what I wanted to do next. And I love how the universe responds to you. As soon as you decide that this isn't good enough and you want something else, other things come to you to evaluate. And you can say, I can look at this. Do I want this? No, that's not what I want. Is this the experience I want? That one would be interesting to me. Let's look at that one. So an experience was offered in terms of looking at going into consulting with IT. Me. Like, to me, that is like a disconnect. It's like, no, I don't do IT. What the hell do I do for a living? I build websites. Like, that's a form of IT. But to me, IT is like programming and basic, C Cobalt language and all that kind of stuff, which I don't know. But I spoke with a consulting firm that does consulting IT work within the department that I'm currently working in. And this is what I think is hilarious. I'm doing the work as an employee and getting paid this much. They also have consultants that are doing the exact same work as me and getting paid this much. So I'm like, all right, let's look at consulting. And I'm talking with this recruiter, and deep in my heart, I'm feeling so insecure and fearful that I am not good enough, that my skill set isn't, depth and breadth enough to do this type of work. And I was so surprised to feel that in the middle of this conversation. I don't even remember what the hell the guy was saying on the phone. I was just like, oh my God, where did this come from? I thought we got rid of this shit. What are you still doing here? Right? And having to sit with that for a day and just saying, why is this reacting this way? This is not blah, 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 blah. And not really being able to find the source of the fear, but being able to, as you were just saying, look at other people's responses, taking other people's words. If I can look around me and see what the universe has been showing to me, the amount of support I have to be successful in my own business has been phenomenal, more than I've ever seen. If high functioning and successful people like my friend John here, or my supervisor, or some of the other people in my life that keep telling me that they see my value at a much higher rate than what I see, because we are always our own worst critics, who am I to disbelieve them? If all these people and all this information that the universe is bringing to me is saying to me, Sonia, you are good enough. Your skill set is good enough. Who am I to disbelieve it? Who am I to say, no, I'm not worthy. Screw that, I'm worthy.
Question about that. So in any IT firm or consultancy, I would imagine there are different people on different posts with different strengths. Here's right. The graphics people, here's the coding people. They don't mix. Okay. They have to cooperate, but was there something about that interview where he was throwing out like words that, well, what about the blah, 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 blah? And like, you were like, I have no idea what you're talking about. Okay. Well then I guess you're qualified.
Well, exactly. Like I had to really think about it because my idea of IT is separate from, like, there's so many areas of IT.
Mm-hmm.
My freaking title is information management. Come on, girl. like, like again, it's so hard for us to see our own value. So today I'm doing up my resume to forward to this recruiter. And I'm like so on fire looking at all the experiences that I have. I'm like, yes, actually, you do fit this role. There is more validation. You are convincing yourself in your own argument in the court of my mind that I can do this and be better for it. And as I'm doing this, just before I get on this call, I get a call from my previous supervisor. She had moved to a different department within the organization that I'm in, called me up seeing if I wanted to be her information officer to help her set up an IT structure.
Oh,
okay.
Opportunity.
Decision made. This is the next direction. And yeah, it's scary as hell. Because consulting is contract work and it's not a guaranteed salary. But that's the goal, right? Like that's the goal that all of us have here. We're all here to build our businesses so that we can leave the job that just keeps the lights on, right? That is all of our end goals, whether it's going to take us 3 months or a year or whatever, but that is the ultimate end goal.
Right.
And it's scary as shit, but so what? Like, you can sit with the fear for a little while and say, okay, yes, I feel fearful, but sooner or later, that emotion has to move to action. You can't just stick in that emotion, like you were saying, action, and then that action gives you what? A result.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, so I can go get a consulting gig. May not do well, may do well. But whatever the result is, it's still a result. It's not a failure. It's still a result. I've still completed that action. I've taken the step, or I'm going to take the step to complete that next step in my journey, because that's the goal at the end, is to get away from what we call the golden handcuffs.
Right. So Sonia, two other things that are coming up for me as you're talking. One is Andrew Carnegie said he'll pay more for your ability to work cooperatively with other people than for any other skill. He didn't know a damn thing about steel, but these guys do. And as long as you guys can work together, we're good. So that's Carnegie, the first billionaire. And then the other thing was diversity. You've got multiple enterprises. You've got multiple ways to achieve your goals. And so the consultancy, is it all chips on that? The idea of marrying the vehicle, which I'd done for years. Okay. Oh, the job. Oh, I'm clutching onto my security. This is known. This is familiar. It sucks, but it's known, right? And so this unknown area here is in addition to knowns, right? You're a responsible person. You'll keep the lights on, whatever. That's fine. But when you've outgrown your post here, and I think it's rather clear that, well, you can make that decision.
Oh no, you're right. I've outgrown it for sure.
Right. So do we cling to that post? Do we marry the vehicle? Look, for as long as I married the vehicle, I couldn't see the other opportunities. I had to, again, get out of my own way and stop clutching onto my precious, oh my goodness, right? Like, here's the magic. I'm not the magic. Here's the magic. Here's the cause point, not me.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, it's interesting. But good topic today, John.
Thank you. I just channeled it from the ethers. I had no idea what was going to come out of my mouth.
You never do, but it's always what we need to hear. So
something good. We'll
appreciate it.
Yeah. All right. Anybody else today? I see Daisy and Edward, Giovanna, Janet's here, Lindsay, Virginia. Any other thoughts on this? Whatever this, not going to come up with a title for this. What was the title? I don't know. We'll figure it out. That'll come to me too. Any other thoughts? Virginia.
Let me see if I can even show you what I'm doing my nails.
There she is.
Ego OB did a general session called the imposter syndrome last year. And it covered this very topic of where we feel like someone's going to figure out that we don't know what we're doing or that we're not good enough on there. And so you might, if you want, Sonia, go look back in the archives and the recordings and look for that imposter syndrome. I'm pretty sure it was a general session on there. What else? My sister in Orlando, who is a high tech for a large international bank, and has been doing creating statements and things and coding all of that stuff for years, used to travel. She did it for the bank, and then she opened up a consulting business, incorporated. She used to have to physically travel though. So she physically had to go to Denver, or she had to go to Pennsylvania, Pittsburgh, or whatever. And then she had to have an apartment there. And then she would be gone 2 or 3 weeks, and then she'd come back home. And she did that for several years, made, millions. But what she ended up doing during that gig was hiring other consultants under her corporate veil. And so then she would make an override. So the firm would pay her corporation like she was a recruiter or something, and she had a couple of people working for her, so she made a chunk of money on their income as well. And then she ended up just giving up the travel because it was really wrecking their marriage and their home life and everything. And now she still just works from home. But yeah, so there's possibilities here. And if you don't have to go to a different city and maintain another apartment, then it's a better time. It's a better time to be doing this.
Beautiful.
Okay, so my input for today. I'm going to get back to doing my nails.
Okay, to your
I'm
nails.
listening. Bye.
I logged into our site and went into the archive, and it was mid-September 2020. And there's the link if anybody wants to watch that. Fresh out of the archives. So over a year ago. So that must have stuck with Virginia for her to cite. That was last year. Yeah. It was September 2020. All right, Janet, your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm excited for growth. And Sonia, it sounds like you have an opportunity to grow, because when you go into something else, you don't stay where you are. I mean, that's obvious, but you have the opportunity to grow beyond where you are in a way different way than if you just stayed in your own little place. And so and Virginia just said that, you go from where you are, and then you become one of the people who brings other people in, and you are over them, and you can create a company that does that kind of thing. The opportunities continue to grow. You get to see beyond what you see at your desk. The horizons spread out, and the excitement and the reason to get up in the morning is just like, woo, I get to do this today, and I get to become that. And, it's a wonderful thing. So, John, I put in the chat originally, nourishment is what is for growth. Otherwise, that little acorn does shrivel. That is that possibility. So that all that nourishment, all of that excitement, all of that, because the horizons will just expand and expand and expand. And how wonderful is that? Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Pretty
thank
wonderful.
you, John.
Thank you, Janet. I was thinking about the going on a mission, right? Let's say, Janet, we were planning a mission together, right? There's excitement, there's planning, there's enthusiasm, and we're doing it together. Right?
I'm up for it.
Right. And so Sonia's not alone, right? She has allies, right? Here's the consultant recruiting guy. Here's the other person who was the supervisor who is an ally and who offers opportunity and guidance and opens the door. I'm just thinking, we can't leave that out, right? In fact, here we are, masterminding. What's the whole point, right? Is you're not alone, right? Two heads are better than one sometimes, but yeah, here we have a lot of allies. Does that not bolster our own readiness to go on a mission, to then burst out onto the scene and do something bold? I think so. Yeah, that's why I keep showing up. Anyway, thank you, Janet. Love you. You're awesome. Great calligrapher. All right. Let's wrap up. I am going to be back here with you tomorrow for a fun Friday. We don't have anything else on the calendar today. So enjoy it. Let's get some stuff done because you deserve to. And in the meantime, just thank you. Thank you for being a part of this whole